So, welcome to How to Succeed at Your First Job. How you present yourself will always speak volumes about who you are and the impression you have on others. It is my honor and my privilege to be here with you today. I have been teaching etiquette since 2006. I have done some TV, some radio. I co-authored a book, as Stephen mentioned, The Power of Civility. And that's what brings me here with you today. My passion is to help other people feel confident in any situation. Because whenever people ask, what do you do? And if I say etiquette, people automatically think, oh, that's dining, that's which fork, that's putting a napkin on your lap. Well, yes, that is etiquette, but there's way more to etiquette. And etiquette is just the tools that you need to be confident in any situation. Let's get started. Hard skills versus soft skills. Research done at Harvard University, the Carnegie Foundation, and Stanford Research Center have all concluded that 85% of job success comes from having well-developed soft skills and people skills, and only 15% from technical skills and knowledge. So I know this is a webinar, but we do have a little chat feature. So anybody would like to tell me in your own words, what do you feel is the difference between soft skills and people skills and technical skills and knowledge? Those are two different things. What do you think that difference is? So if anybody would like to put it in the chat, I'll give you a couple of seconds. If not, I will go on. But you can put it in as I'm speaking, and then we can always pause. And again, if you have a question at the end of each topic, again, put it in the chat. And as we are moving along, I am more than happy to answer any questions. All right, so soft skills and people skills, that is what we're doing here today, right? Soft skills, the stuff you don't learn in school. Hard skills and technical skills is the thing that you go to school for. You want to be an attorney, you go to law school. You want to be a doctor, you go to medical school. You want to be an accountant, so on and so on. That is your technical skills, that is your knowledge. Soft skills and people skills is what we're doing right now. The manners, the etiquette, how you get along with other people, those are soft skills. And you need both to truly be, to reach the top of your field, because you can be the best at what you do. But if you are hard to work with, if you're not approachable, who's going to want to promote you? If you're a leader in your company, you have the technical skills, but you also have the soft skills. So with that in mind, let's continue. And we're going to start with first impressions and body language. 4, 10, 15, 30. Those numbers. What do you think those mean? That could be, it's not a phone number, it's not a combination, it's not the winning lotto number. But if you were to Google how many seconds it takes to make a first impression, you're going to get articles that say 4 seconds, 10 seconds, 15 seconds, 30 seconds. But who here really gives someone 30 seconds before you've made an impression about them? Probably not many. Not even 15, not even 10, not even 4. Because generally, for the most part, we start to make that or formulate an impression the second we see that person. So if you're thinking, nope, I give somebody 30 seconds, let me ask you this. If you see somebody walking out a window right now, you look out your window and you see somebody walking and they have their cell phone and they're doing this, they're smiling and they're laughing, you're not hearing what they're saying. You're just seeing their body language. You're thinking, they're laughing. You mean it's a positive, right? If you see that same person turn around and walk back and has their phone like this or is doing this, making all these faces, shoulders up, you're thinking something negative, something is going on. And that's that's just the second that you see them. So we begin to formulate an impression about somebody the second we see them. Now, about 10 seconds, we'll be like, oh, yeah, we were correct. I was absolutely correct about that impression. Or, oops, I completely misjudge them. Maybe you see them walking, and as they get closer, oh, okay, I misjudged them. Maybe they were doing something and they straightened up, or, whatever it is. We absolutely misjudge people from time to time. But this is how we tend to judge people. Are they dressed for the occasion? Is what they're wearing appropriate for that time and occasion? Their demeanor, are their shoulders back, head up, smile on their face, approachable, open body language, or are they shoulders down with a scowl on their face, doing this, not approachable, closed off body language? Introductions, are they making introductions? Are they introducing their friends? Are they introducing themselves, or are they just sitting in the corner, keeping to themselves? And lastly, handshake. Now, this one, because, the way society has been going, COVID, no COVID, COVID, numbers are up, numbers are down. Handshakes definitely went away back in, 2020, but they made a way back in. But if you are giving handshakes, we do judge you based on that handshake. And later on in this presentation, we'll talk about how to make sure you are giving stellar handshakes every time. When you're talking to somebody face to face, this is how, again, we break it down. We judge each other 55% based on our body language, 38% on the tone of our voice, and only 7% on the words that we use. So think about this. Has this ever happened to you? You're standing there and someone says, "What's wrong?" And then you say, "Nothing." And then they say, "No, seriously, what's wrong?" "I said nothing, nothing, all right? Just leave me alone." Well, you can keep saying nothing all you want, but if you're standing there again with closed off, body language, doing this, your voice says nothing, I said nothing, your body language is totally contradicting what you're saying. Your body will always speak louder than the words that come out of your mouth. So the next time you go through that little song and dance, "What's wrong?" "Nothing." "What's wrong?" "Nothing." Stop. Take stock in what it is that your body is doing. What is your face doing? What are your facial expressions doing? Are you closed off body language? Do you have open body language? Before you keep telling the other person nothing is wrong. Something is wrong and they can tell. So let's continue on with body language. Nonverbal communication, body language. Understanding how body language signals are perceived. Our brains are hardwired to respond to nonverbal cues, even though most of us aren't consciously aware of the process. The key to being an effective nonverbal communicator is to realize that the impact of these signals depends less on what you meant and more on how most people interpret those signals. Again, your body language. What you say has to match what your body is saying, because your body is going to speak louder than anything that comes out of your mouth. That's why smiling at someone can brighten up their day, while angry frowns can upset them. We tend to mimic the postures and expressions of those we work with or spend a lot of time with, also known as the mirror effect. You notice, and if you haven't noticed this, try this the next time you're talking to someone. When you're talking to somebody and you're in a conversation, start to mimic what they do. Or you start to do something, maybe do this, maybe do this. It's natural for us to become a mirror and to start doing what the other person is doing. Misreading body language. This can happen as well. Nonverbal signals still help us form quick impressions, but as natural as this ability may be, not all of our impressions are accurate. When was the last time you misjudged someone? We all have nonverbal cues that can send the wrong messages. What cues of yours are most likely to be misunderstood? So this is really like with somebody who is very animated. Like everything that I am thinking will show on my face, will show in my body language. So you could be saying something which maybe triggered something else, and now my body language is going to be either negative or positive. It has nothing to do necessarily with you, but whatever you said took my memory back to something that was either a positive or a negative. And so, but you have no idea that I thought of something else because of something that you mentioned, and now my body language completely changed, but you're taking it, the wrong way. Yes, that's my fault. However, again, you don't know that. So that's why it's important to follow up with a dialogue to make sure that that you are not misjudging someone. Getting your body language to match your words. So let's say that you are the CEO at a dairy factory. You are doing an on-site visit wearing a very expensive suit. You walk slowly to the podium so not to get dirty. So imagine that, right? You're walking and you're like, ooh, you're wearing this beautiful suit and you're kind of walking and don't touch me, doing this kind of of a thing. And then you get up there and then you say, I am so happy to be here with you today. Well, no, you're not. I just saw you walking down the aisle and you're doing don't touch me, get away from me, don't touch me, get away from me. So again, this is why it's very important that your actions match your words, because your body will speak louder than anything that comes out of your mouth. So next, let's talk about perfecting your handshakes. This is something else where we get judged on. Study on handshakes shows that people are twice as likely to remember you if you shake hands with them. People react to those with whom they shake hands by being more open and friendly. But be aware that people often make personality judgments based on the kind of handshake you have. So let's talk about what it takes to make or to give a good handshake. Number one, you have to initiate, right? So when you see someone, when you meet someone, when you go into somebody's office, when you're leaving somebody's office, you always want to shake that person's hand. What hand do you shake with? Your right. Doesn't matter if you're left-handed, you always shake with your right hand. So the first thing you're going to do is you always want to shake hands standing up. So even if somebody is introducing you and you're sitting down, make sure you stand up. Face the person, shoulder to shoulder, make eye contact, a genuine smile, extend your right hand. That's the initiation. Number two is the grasp. This is the web of your hand. So it's web to web, and then you grasp, and then you motion. So you initiate it, grasp, web to web, and then it's 2 to 3 shakes, pumps, and it's from the elbow, you don't want to do this. You don't need to use your whole body. You just do this really quick, and then you take your hand back. That's it. Easy peasy. You want to do a nice firm grip. That you don't want a limp fish handshake where you touch, like this or like this, or no. Go nice and firm, shake, and then release. So then the next question is, well, how do I know if my handshake is too firm? Body language. If somebody were to give me a handshake and they were squeezing my hand too hard, I'm probably going to do this. My shoulders might go up. My eyes might get a little big. You don't have to apologize. You don't have, just gently begin to release your grip. That's it. Just pay attention to the person's body language. All right. Moving on to introductions. Again, if there's anything you have a question on, or if you want to make a comment, put it in the chat. I'm keeping track here, and also Stephen will let me know if we need to stop and go over some questions. All right, moving on to introduction. So you've started a new job. Woohoo! Now let's talk about how to make stellar first impressions at that job. Number one, crafting a script to help you feel confident when introducing yourself. The when and how of introducing yourself can cause anxiety. I have to introduce myself. When am I supposed to do that? What am I supposed to say? Oh my gosh, we get so riled up in our own minds, and it's really easy. Just take a step back. So the first thing we need to do is find the time to give a quick and energetic introduction to the people that you don't know. Introduce yourself before or after a meeting. Be prepared and have a script. Again, figure out, maybe write it out a couple of times, how it is that how it is that you're going to introduce yourself, because you want that introduction to be smooth. Remember, this is the first time that a lot of your colleagues are going to be meeting you. Hello, my name's Jules. Hi, I'm Jules. Hello, my name's Jules Hirst. That sounds maybe a little bit too formal, so maybe I'm going to be a little bit less formal. Hi, I'm Jules, and your name is? Hi, I'm Jules. I'm the recent hire for XYZ. Figure out what comes natural to you. Give just a little bit of information and pay attention to the body language. If somebody maybe is running behind on schedule, or they don't really have a lot of time to talk with you right then and there, their body language is going to tell you, oh, hi, great to meet you. And they're going to kind of be like this, kind of quick, and then they're going to start to walk away. You don't want to keep that conversation going, because they're trying to leave, especially if they start doing this, or they get their phone and they start doing this. That's your cue to stop. It was so great to meet you. I look forward to speaking to you, soon, or when you have a little bit more time, or find a way to end that conversation and let them go. However, on the flip side of that, you're talking to somebody, you've introduced them, and they're asking that question, and they're beginning that small talk with you. Then that's your green light to give a little bit more. But again, remember to pay attention to that body language. When they are beginning to disengage, that means it's time to end the conversation with a smile, a handshake, and then you go on your merry way. You don't want to make introductions, like you don't want to pop your head into a meeting. Hi, I'm Jules Hirst. I'm the new hire. No, you don't want to do that. So that's why I say, find time to give a quick and energetic introduction to people that you don't know. But you want to be strategic about when you do this. If you know you're going to have a big meeting coming up, and you're going to have a lot of your team, if you're going to be a part of a team, or your colleagues, then you ask your manager or your team leader, hey, can I have a few minutes either before or after the meeting to introduce myself? Remember, the burden's on you to make those efforts to introduce yourself. Sometimes your manager or your team leader might do it, but if they don't, then you take the initiative and ask. The worst they can do is say, this is not the time or the place. Okay, fine. I doubt that would happen, but at least you asked. And again, timing is everything. So when you start to meet a lot of people, it can be a little difficult to remember people's names. I don't know how many of you out there have this situation where you meet a couple of people, and you're trying your best to remember names, but they start to was this person Kate and that person John, or was that person? Oh my gosh, right? So one of the things to help remember somebody's name is to use it right away. Hi, my name is, hi, I'm Jules Hirst. I'm the recent hire. Hi, Jules, good to meet you. So tell me, now you don't want to say, so tell me, Jules, and then Jules, and then you don't want to do that. But try to use it as often as you can without sounding, too robotic. If that does, and so you can do that. So that's one tactic, right? The second thing you can do when you go back to your desk, or you get back, when you get back to your desk, maybe have like a sheet of paper or on your phone, if that's something that, if you're more of a technical way of doing things, then person, and then a little bit about them, because they will usually give themselves a little bit of information. Oh, good to meet you, Jules. My name is Sarah. I work in HR. So then you can put Sarah HR. So this way it'll help, it'll help make that connection. And the next time you see Sarah from HR, you know exactly, because you'll be reviewing your notes. And if all else fails and you forget their name, simply ask. The worst thing you can do is not say hi to someone, or just like, oh my God, how embarrassing. I feel bad. Don't feel bad. We all forget somebody's name from time to time, especially if you're new, because you're meeting so many people. It would be bad manners not to, own it and say, I'm so sorry, I forgot your name. That's it, done. And then you move on. But then remember to, find a way to remember, use that name right away, go back to your desk, make that note. Because if it's like 4 days later and you're still forgetting his or her name, then something might be a little wrong, especially if it's just that one person. So those are some tips on how to remember names. Now I see, is there a question that we can ask now, or should I go on?
Yeah, this was a sort of a fun question.
Okay.
What do you do if someone gives you a limp handshake?
Well, there's nothing you can do because it's bad manners to point out somebody's bad manners, right? So unfortunately, there's nothing you can do. But what I've done when somebody gives me the beginning of a handshake is pretty, starts to be pretty limp, I will firm up my grip. And sometimes they'll take the cue, again, that mirror effect, and they'll firm up their handshake. But if it's, let's say, that it's a mentor-mentee situation and you have that kind of relationship, you would never embarrass him or her in front of other people. But, you would take them to the side. Hey, let's practice, we should work on our handshakes, kind of also take some of that ownership. Again, and unless you have a really good relationship where you can tell them, you need to work on your handshake. But if it's just a peer colleague, there's really not a whole lot that you can do, unfortunately, because that's how we will remember you. You're like, oh, I don't want to shake your hand. It's going to be you. So I hope that answer helps. So if there are no other questions, then let's continue on to navigating the workplace. So we talked a lot about your first impression, how to remember names, all these things, all these ways that we can make a first impression. And so why that is so important is because perception is reality. However people perceive you is their reality of you. So when you go to work, when you get, those first few days, you want to dress for the job that you want. Now, let's say that at the job, at work, and it's somewhere where you actually go into an office, because I know, a lot of things are hybrid still or still virtual, but you're actually going into an office, and let's say, your workers, they wear leggings and sweatshirts and tennis shoes, and there is nothing wrong if that is the culture and that is the dress code, that is fine. But those first couple of months, you may not want to jump into that, to be that lax yet. Maybe you're going to go, you're not going to wear a suit, obviously. That's going to be a little bit on the other side, but maybe jeans and, a polo shirt or a button down shirt if you're a woman, or a sweater, you're still going to be casual. You're still not going to overdress, but maybe you're not going to be in the leggings and the sandals quite just yet. Because again, perception is reality. Remember, it's on you to make those positive first impressions. So again, dress for the job that you want. And then once you're there, once you've established, once you've passed probation, then you can start to, if that's you, for some people, they're just not going to wear the leggings. That's just not how they're going to dress to work. And that's fine too. But you also don't want to overdress either. You want to be able to mesh well with everyone else, but definitely remember, perception is reality. And communication is key. If there's something that you don't understand, if there's something that you need, you've got to speak up. Remember, people aren't mind readers, especially if they're hiring, quite a few people at once. There's a lot of different moving things going on, plus their own, everyday, day-to-day work. So perception is reality, communication is key. So prioritize the information. As a new employee, you'll want to know as much as possible in your first week, but it's important to prioritize your questions. So before your first day, know your route to work. Maybe even take a test drive. Especially like here in Los Angeles, I could be 8 miles away, but it can take me up to an hour and a half to get to downtown from West Los Angeles, depending on the time of day that I go. So know your route, and then So I go to Waze and it says, oh, 40 minutes. Okay, cool. I'll give myself 50 minutes. But then there's an accident. Well, Waze can't predict an accident, right? So not only do you know your route, but also have a backup just in case. And if there is just no getting around, you're going to be late, then you need to call immediately and let that person know, let HR, let your supervisor, the lead, whoever it is that you're supposed to meet with, letting them know, what's going on, and you're going to be late. But again, that first day, you want to be as early as possible. That way you have time to sit in the parking lot, compose yourself, review any notes from your interview, and and get that head, get everything in your head, and get that attitude, that positive attitude, so that way you go into work not stressing out because you're late or almost late. If it is a remote job, test your equipment ahead of time. Make sure that you have the link. Make sure that you have any software that you need to be downloaded. Make sure you do all of that the day before. You don't want to do it an hour before, or I'll get to it. Even as good as you may be with technology, things mess up, right? So be prepared. Review notes from your interview. Again, in the interview, they would have said, what's expected of you. Maybe not. But again, make sure you take good notes and review everything. So this way you have an idea of what it is that you're walking into. Check in with yourself, your body language, your attitude. And remember, the most important accessory you can own is confidence. So make sure you put that accessory on before you go into work. Now, there's a lot of things where, fake it till you make it, or, there's all that stuff, all those different sayings. And, and they're true. Sometimes, I still get nervous before a presentation, whether it's, I'm speaking to teens, adults, webinar, in person, those minutes before I start, or when like Stephen speaks and he's starting his introduction, and my stomach will start to turn around. But I know myself, and I have to remind myself, I know you got this, this. So you need to do that with yourself as well. So again, the most important accessory you can own and you need to wear every day, everywhere, is confidence. Have open body language and have a good attitude. Not only just, a great attitude and be grateful that you're able to go to a job, but also, when you start a new job and people are telling you different things and how to do things, sometimes we can get a little defensive and we're like, I know that. All right. We may not tell them that, but again, we may roll our eyes, or we may, do this. Again, just have an open mind, an open attitude, and positive body language. And lastly, know what you're going to wear to work. Lay it out before. You don't want that morning to be looking in the mirror. Oh my gosh, this shrunk. Okay, it shrunk, or, this is dirty, or it's wrinkled, or it's this. So again, do all of this stuff the day before you go to work. So here are some questions to ask yourself during the onboarding process. Do I have access to all company communication? Do I have all the tools that I need? Are you aware of your team strategy? How and when will your performance be evaluated? So these are the things that you want to know, right? So if during your onboarding, and you may have this phenomenal onboarding package, but make sure that, and I'm sure there's a lot more questions, but these are some really important things that you want to make sure you know. Communication, again, communication is key. How are you going to communicate? Do you have all of the emails, texts, phone numbers, etc., that you need? Do you have all the tools that you need to do your job? What's the strategy? How are we doing this? Are we meeting every Friday for a team meeting? Are we, every morning, do we check in? Make sure that you are crystal clear on what is expected of you. And then also, how and when will your performance be evaluated? That is also something else. You want to know, how are you being measured, and when will you be getting that feedback from somebody? So you want to ask the right questions. Again, continuing on, who do I reach out to for questions? So you have all those other questions, you have everything you need to know, but you still have a question. So you've gone through your notes, you've tried to figure it out yourself, but you know what? You still have a question. So who am I supposed to ask, right? That's also something that you need to know. And do you understand your priorities, and are you clear on your daily responsibilities? So these are all the things you want to know, from the beginning. Um, so you want to make sure that if it's not if it's not part of the onboarding process, then these are the questions that you want to ask your team leader and or your manager. So knowing the difference between, when am I supposed to pick up the phone or ping or, email somebody, and when should I wait to, like, maybe later on, some questions, maybe you compile an email and then you ask, you shoot some questions out at the end of the day. So here are some, here's an example. If you can't log into the computer and you need to get assistance now, that is something that you're going to let somebody know right away, right? You're not going to wait until the end of the day. Oh, yeah, I didn't do that because I couldn't get into the system. I couldn't open up that file. No, you're going to let that person know, or let somebody know. Again, you've already asked that question. Who am I supposed to ask if I have any questions? You're going to let them know that you're having issues right then and there. But if you have a question like on a quarterly report that you're going to have to do in a month or two, or somebody told you about the company retreat next year and it's taking place out of state, those are questions that don't need immediate assistance. Those you would ask at a later time. Again, prioritize your information. Jot down notes. Again, if it's something like this, write it down, because it's definitely an important question, but it's not something that you need an answer for right then and then. So keep a note, write it down, open up your phone, go to notes, however you keep track of, or wherever you write notes, put it down, and then maybe you just put it all together and then you send it off in an email, or when you have your meeting with your team leader, et cetera, to kind of like evaluate how things are going. These are the questions that you can ask them. Learn your manager's or your team lead's preference. So again, as great as some companies are at giving you these onboarding, your onboarding, but but every manager, every team lead is a little different, and they work differently. Maybe one might like an email, at the end of the day, shoot me out all your emails, where somebody wants a text message, as soon as they come up, send them to me. So this way you don't forget. And then when I get a chance, I will start responding to your text messages. Again, that's not going to be in your onboarding packet. That's something that someone, that they're going to tell you, or maybe, when you're talking to a coworker, hey, what have you found to be the best way to communicate or to ask questions? So you might have to ask your coworkers what are the best ways, or just ask your team lead, how do I best ask you questions, or get information from you, and they will gladly tell you, instead of you trying to guess. You don't want to guess. So get organized and set goals. Now that you know what is expected of you, it's time to get working. You've taken plenty of notes. You've asked great questions. Take a look at who you want to begin building relationships with. Again, remember, the burden is on you to create and to build those strategic relationships. So now that you have a good idea of what it is that you need to do on a daily basis, you know your team, you know your team lead, you know how to navigate basically, around. Now take it up the next layer. Build those relationships, your team lead, the person that you're going to ask questions to, the person that you're going to be working closely with. Maybe now you might have lunch together. Maybe now you'll go out for coffee. So build those relationships. Map out and schedule project due dates and team check-ins. Again, whether you use an agenda, hard copy, you write it down, or you use your calendar, Google Calendar, iCalendar, make sure that you have everything scheduled. You have all those pertinent dates on your calendar, because again, perception is reality. If you miss something, everybody messes up from time to time, and that's fine. But if you're consistently missing dates because you're not being organized, well, then that's on you, and that can reflect negatively on you. So make sure that you map it out, you build those relationships, you ask questions, you go through your notes, and every day what's going on. Be open-minded and set boundaries. You don't need to know everything in the beginning. You don't. And you know what? You're not expected to. It is perfectly fine that you should have an idea of something, of what you're going to be doing, right? Obviously you do, because they would have given you the job if you didn't. However, every company has its own twist on how they do things. So they know that there is going to be a little bit of a honeymoon period as you're starting to learn your position. Be open to new ideas or different way of doing things. Again, somebody might say, oh, and we do it like this, XYZ, even though in your mind, you know how to do that, but you do it this way. Well, you know what? Try it. You never know. Who knows, right? But at least when they say, oh, did you try it? Yes, I did. And you can give honest feedback on what it was that you liked or didn't like about that method, about that way. Again, sometimes if somebody is checking in on you and you're doing something and they're telling you, oh, do it this way. Don't do that with your, and then, or say, I do it this way. Again, you're the new one. Be open to the direction, try it, and then who knows, you may find that this actually is a little quicker, right? But at least be open, at least try it. And then above all, make sure that your body language is not saying, ugh, it's you again telling me what to do. They're not telling you what to do, they're just trying to, well, okay, maybe they are telling you what to do, but again, all just trying to help each other out. So be open. Be gracious and remember your please and thank you. So especially when you're asking a lot of questions, if you're asking a lot of questions in the beginning, if you need help, please, can you, when you have a chance, and then they assist you, remember to say thank you and be sincere. Oh, thanks. No, don't do it like that. Thank you so much. So remember to use please and thank you. But be careful. Don't be too overeager. Don't be so over the top and so eager to please. And so there's nothing wrong with showing that you are grateful and you're ready to go, but you don't want to be so overeager that, like, whoa, relax, or you're doing, I can do that, I can do that, I can do that. And then eventually they just think, okay, well, she can do that. Okay, he can do that. And they just keep piling and piling and piling. Now your daily work, because you're taking on all this other stuff, is not going to get done. So make sure that you have that you set a healthy boundary where you are displaying that you are willing to, to take on more, but don't want to be so overeager that you aren't, first doing what you need to do. Again, perception is reality, so just be careful. Don't go into a new job as a know-it-all, right? Who loves a know-it-all? Oh, I know that. Oh, I know that. Oh, I know how to do that. Oh, I've done that before. You might have. Don't go in with that attitude, like that know-it-all. No one likes a know-it-all. and be authentic. If somebody gives you a praise, thank them. But be authentic with who you are and your attitude, because there is nothing worse than inauthenticity. And we can see right through it, right? If I'm to say, oh my gosh, thank you so much. That is so good. I'm like, oh gosh, stop. All right. So be authentic, be you. There's no other you. So be the best version that you can be, but there's no reason to be inauthentic. None whatsoever. And lastly, be kind to yourself and celebrate your wins. No one is expecting you to know everything in the beginning. Every opportunity is a learning experience. Even if you know that or know something, or you know what it is that they're trying to explain to you, or you know that step, again, you may learn something new. So don't be closed off and, oh, here she goes again, telling me about, XYZ, because you don't know what you're going to learn. Every opportunity is a learning experience. Check in with your team leaders on how you are doing. Now, yes, during your onboarding, you were told that every Friday at 3 p.m., you're going to have a check-in. But, real life happens and things come up. People call out. Maybe your team leader at that moment is doing the job of two different people because they're still trying to bring in other people, or someone is out sick. So that happened, and 1 week goes by, 2 weeks goes by, then ask for that check-in. When would be a good time? 5 minutes to do a check-in, so that this way you can take measure and how you're doing. Once you have a good handle on your day-to-day tasks, now would be a good time to see where else you can provide value, right? You always want to be of value at your position, but you want to make sure that you have a handle on what you need to do first before you start taking on additional duties, additional tasks. So once you've got a good handle on what you need to do, then you can start looking around. Oh, I can help with that. Oh, I can help with that. Oh, she can help. Oh, he can help. So there's nothing wrong with that. That's a great thing. Again, but don't be overeager. Don't take on more than what you can handle, because I need to prove myself. Yes, you need to prove yourself, but you need to do what you were hired for first. So remember, first impressions, because that's what it comes down to, right? Making a positive first impressions. How do we do that? Do prepare for your first day. Do have an open mind, and don't go in as a know-it-all. Do show your eagerness to succeed, but don't be overeager to please. Make strategic connections. Remember, the burden is on you to go out and make those connections. Remember to be yourself. Everyone else is already taken. And with that, I thank you. Do you have any questions for me?
Thank you, Jules. We did have one question, a couple questions here. How do you say no to a new boss if what I'm being asked to do is more than what I can handle?
So you can say something along the lines. I understand, X, Y, Z. However, at this time, I just, for whatever reason, I guess I would need a little bit more context. So is it just something that you don't know what you're doing? Or, maybe it's something that you haven't done before, or
Asked to do more than what I feel like I can handle. That was the question. Maybe it's overwhelming, too many tasks.
So So I thank you for thinking of me, but at this time, I think I have all I can handle at the moment. But thank you for thinking of me, because they did think of you. Whether it's because just give it to her, or because, oh, I think she would be perfect.
Right. Another question. How about social media? Should I be adding my colleagues on social media? Or if they try to add me, is that something I need to do?
So here's the thing with social media. So you can have Counts. One where you can interact with other people because for whatever reason we do take it personal. If we send a request to somebody and they don't respond, hey, I sent you a request. Why, especially if you accepted one person's request but not the other colleague. So well, didn't you see? No, well, I sent a request, she didn't accept. So you don't want that to happen, right? So either don't accept anyone's or create a second one where you put some stuff up, and then but it's kept away from your personal life because some people don't want their personal life infringing with their work life. So that's what I would suggest, is because then if you don't have it but you are strictly on there, then people, well, what are they hiding? Well, why are they again, social media is such a weird, and we create these stories in our head, and it has nothing to do with that. I have pictures of my grandkids, I have pictures of my daughters, my sons, etc., and I just don't want the two to merge. So to avoid that, you can either don't accept anybody, or create that second account, have some
Mm.
things, so this way we get to know a little bit about you, invite your work people, and we're done.
That's what you meant by having a healthy boundaries, right? In your job.
Yes, yes, healthy boundaries.
Another great question. If I'm doing a job interview and they ask me when I can begin working or when's as soon as I can begin, what suggested that I say in case something comes up before I begin working?
So, well, this is where it's good to know ahead of time. Like, look at your calendar. If you can start working the next day, and let's say you really need to start working because you need the income, then you tell them the next day. If you have something coming up, then you say, I can begin next week. So what is realistic and feasible for you? Because the last thing you want to do is say, oh, I can start tomorrow. And then they say, okay, well, not tomorrow, but how about on Friday? Okay. And then you call tomorrow and say, oh, I can't come in on Friday. I forgot I had a doctor's appointment. Well, okay, you forgot that, then it's like, what else are you going to forget about? So again, perception is reality. You're not even in yet. So make sure you have a clear snapshot of what's going on for that week and the next week. Also, if you have a job and you need to give a 2 weeks notice, be honest about that. As I'm currently working, and I need to leave on a good note. So I need to give my 2 weeks notice. They will appreciate that, because when it's time for you to leave that job, hopefully they'll appreciate that you'll be giving them 2 week notice as well.
Yeah, sort of related to that. Another question: if the job isn't right, how long should I give the job? So when you first start your job and it doesn't feel right, and then follow up to that, how can I quit without hurting my reputation?
Oh, that's a great question. So always follow your intuition. Now, give it a week or two, but if you're feeling sick, if you are dreading going in, yeah, then if you can, then you leave, put in your 2 weeks notice. Thank you for the opportunity. This is just not the right fit for me. Thank you for the opportunity. Something else has come along. A lot of people don't feel really awkward when it comes to that. So, thank you for the opportunity. It's been great. I need to move on. That's it. Done. And then you move on. So, I would leave, because you don't want your reputation ruined. So if it's really negative and you're not feeling that you can give the best version of yourself, um, you don't want to just not go in the next day or call in and say, yeah, I'm not feeling it. You don't want to do that either. But give it a few days, give it a week, and then if it's just not, in your gut, it's not gonna work for you, then put in your notice. I appreciate, and always be grateful. Come from a place of gratitude, because you are grateful that they gave you an opportunity. But you don't want to say, but your lead is whoa. You don't want to say that. That's not the way to go.
Anyone else have any questions? You can post it in the chat or in the Q&A box. Let's see. Is there an appropriate time to ask for more hours if you start as a part-time worker? That's a good one.
Yeah, that's a great question. So if you get hired on as part-time and you know you're going to be part-time, there's nothing wrong, because what the worst they can do is say, no, at this time, we only have part-time work. But this is when keeping your ears open, your eyes open. If you see that there's more hours or more projects that are that need to be handled, and you've gotten a good stronghold on what it is that you need to do. So like within that first week, because it shouldn't take you, that long to learn. So as soon as you feel that you can take on more responsibility, then you would let your team lead know. So that would really be up to you when you feel comfortable that you can take on more. Because the last thing you want to do is come from it from a financial point. You need that extra money, but you're not quite sure still on your day to day. But because you need that finance, you're going to ask for it. Or even if you don't need it, you just want it, right? You ask for it, but you don't have that stronghold, and they start giving you extra work, and then you start missing things, or because you didn't have a good foundation yet. So again, perception is reality. So you want to show that you can do this and that you can handle those extra hours, those extra responsibilities.
Right. Thank you. Any other questions? Let's see. This one's a little sensitive. So this is someone who's recently gotten surgery and they want to begin a new job, but that requires some physical lifting. Should they still go in with a doctor's note and hope for that position, or should they just not apply and not work if they're not ready for that position?
That is a little bit tricky, because in the description, it will tell you exactly what it is that they're looking for. So let's say you're going out for a job at the airport, right? As the person who moves the luggage around, right? And it's going to tell you, you have to be able to lift 50 pounds. Well, if I know I can't lift 50 pounds, I'm not going to go out for that job. So if your situation is temporary, like maybe like a week that you can, then I would say, fine, that then you can go ahead and apply, because it might be 2 weeks before you even get that interview, right? But if it's going to be 6 or 7, 8 months and you can't meet the minimum requirements, then my suggestion would be to look for something else where you can meet the requirements that's asked of you. Now, if you know somebody who works there and they say, oh no, go ahead and ask, because you're going to be going through training first, you're going to be doing this first, you're going to be doing that first, that's completely different. If you already if you know somebody in there and they're telling you, you can do this, this, and this before you even get to the part where you're lifting, that's completely different. But if you're just going in and you're going to have to lift X amount of weight and you can't, maybe find something else that you can do. But again, the worst they can do is say no, but you don't want to upset somebody because you wasted their time, because you can't do what the job is asking of you. So that's where that fine line comes in.
Thank you, Jules. Let's see, we're reaching the end of the hour. Anyone have any additional questions before we close it out? Let's see. Looks like that's okay. Well, Jules, thank you so much. As someone who's personally started a new job recently, this has been so helpful and so insightful. And I know our audience and our viewers now and in the future as well too will really benefit from this information. So really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Again, it's an honor to be here, and I thank you thank you, Stephen and Jose behind the scenes for all that you do to help bring these educations to the next generation who's entering that workforce.
Thank you. Folks, I will be posting a survey link for some feedback in our chat box. If you can take a minute to answer that, we'd really appreciate it. Once again, thank you everyone for participating. Thank you, Jules, and thank you, Jose, for hosting. And I wish you all a good night.